I would probably call last season the year of disappointments. At the time that the events were happening, we didn't realize the significance of it. It started with a cool early summer and wet, which we all thought was a great way to start the summer. Only later did we realize the effect that it had on the growth, and that we got all excited when that wet, cool period stopped about halfway through January, but unfortunately it stopped for too long, and we went straight into restricted growth from too wet to restricted growth from too dry. Now, as the season goes, the calendar of the season, that meant we were pretty optimistic come February. And we were submitting first estimates, and we thought this was going to be a great season. And once we had submitted the estimates, of course, we didn't get rain again of any consequence until August. And our crop just fell away. I forget the numbers, I don't know the exact numbers, but we ended up hundreds of thousands of tons short. And no matter how we adjusted going down, I don't think we could quite believe as growers that the crop was falling away so fast and by so much. Because the nature of this beast is that we're always optimistic, and a little bit of rain will bring us some growth. And then finally, at the end of the season, we crushed about 1.7 million tons from an estimate originally up near 2 million tons, with very poor yields and no growth on our, what we would call annual cane, which is the cane we put aside to cut at the end of the season, was just too short. And our mill closing date then was being pulled back as these things unfolded, and we ended up actually closing the mill just after the end of October, after having planned to start the second week in December. So it was a big disappointment for all of us, and we hope that is a bottom point. Being optimistic, we hope that the coming year is looking a lot better. We're at the stage this season where we were when we predicted a good year last year. So with the rains that we've had in February now, we hope that it's going to be a better crop this season. But we were all disappointed, and when I say all, including the miller, because of course he was to rely on our crop as well. And the thing that we take home from this is that I believe we as growers could do a better job of estimating, and I think the root of it all, and you'll have felt the effect at Sasa as the crop fell away unpredictably. But I have a criticism that it fell away too late. I think we only got a reality check when it came to the end of the season. And we have a very effective ripening program down in this Sugarcane growing area, and that helps boost our quality. The season wasn't as good as it had been. We were disappointed with the quality overall, in the size of the numbers, but also we measure ourselves relative to the rest of the industry, and we have been in the top 3 or 4 for quality in the industry, but last year we were down there in the middle of the scrum, and sometimes even below in terms of cane quality supply to our mill versus what the other people were supplying. And that was a disappointment to us, and we're just very grateful that we did have the ripening program, otherwise it would have been even worse. So it was a disappointing year revenue-wise. The RB for the year, we ended up, forget the exact number, but I think we were close to 1203, I think is a ringing a bell, but I don't want to be pedantic about it. That's the number I remember, somewhere around there, and it could have been better. While we languished in the middle of the pack as growers, our miller was in fact, for quite a long time of the season, and I'm not quite sure the final numbers, but the best non-irrigation mill in the industry in terms of performance, with boiling house recovery, extraction, and obviously overall recovery, being I think in the top 3 or 4, which is great. No, I think I have to tie this in with the conversation that we have a good spray program. We do a lot of scouting with P&D and following up with spraying for Aldana, and it's been very effective, very, very effective. So I think pest load would probably be one of those things that the box is ticked. We've got it in hand, and it's not a major effect now on crop quality. The first thing that comes to mind is, hallelujah, we got a bit of money back from Tongaat, which helped the feeling, the spirit of optimism in the grower circle. Of course, with anticipation, we're going to get some more. And when is the question I always get asked at public meetings. But that was a great boost for the season. Then there's also another highlight of the season that I think is far more significant, because it's a permanent thing rather than a transient thing. And that is the swing away from a situation of being oversupplied, the mill, with all the carryover cane, through measures that we implemented of putting in quotas for the growers in the previous season. We have managed to get back into balance. We now have a mill that's hungry for cane, and we've seen a huge transformation in the desire of the growers to look after their cane again. The replant programs have restarted after being on hold, and we have some abandoned farms which have now been resuscitated. So we've got an area increase, we're getting a quality increase, and we've got a decent price. So being a farmer, the fact that I'm still on the farm after all my many years tells you I'm an optimist. But I look forward to an expanding cane supply with a miller that's milling well and has capacity to crush our cane in a reasonable season.
Yeah, highlights. We had 2 very successful roadshows held in Sezela South, which is this area, and another held in Sezela North. We also held grower days, also one in the south and one in the north, where we had experts from CESRI, Richard again Economic Research, who gave industry updates from an economic perspective, and from a cane husbandry perspective from CESRI. So those were very successful. We're also able to do a social development project for a government school in a large small-scale grower community, where students didn't have access to clean, safe, hygienic toilets. They were using pit toilets, and cane growers sponsored the school with new ablution facilities. So that was a big highlight. We also had some runaway fires, which affected small-scale growers in the main, and I was encouraged by the work that was put in by all growers, large-scale growers, who came together to assist the small-scale growers and made sure that none of their cane was rejected and all that cane got into them. So, we need to maximize. We need to help growers maximize benefits. We need to help them maximize revenue potential. So, as I said, if there's runaway fires, we speak with the guys through Milk Group Board, our leadership, and they're willing to put aside their deliveries to help the small-scale growers get their cane into the mill. Because as you can understand, some growers only have 1 delivery a year, depending. It goes from that small to a little bigger. We are doing very well, actually, and we hit a milestone actually right this season we're coming out of. So we already had a transplant nursery, an approved nursery in Sezela, which the northern growers, Sezela North growers, were members of, and the presentation was done this year under the leadership of Mike, and the Sezela South growers joined in on that scheme. So now all growers in the South Coast are now part of that scheme. So we have ABAs, agribusiness advisors, agricultural business advisors. So they work mainly with our small-scale growers, our emerging farmers, and they help them with all their needs. We actually this year, various funding opportunities were advertised, and we have helped all the growers that came through requiring assistance, from compiling business plans and presenting those business plans for them. And this was extended to growers who are members of SA Cane Growers or SEFTA. And there's also an agreement now that we're working on, because there's some funds held within the industry that can be used to assist small scale growers. And we're going to put that proposal through to the industry to get that money onto the South Coast, because it originally belonged to the South Coast. So that money is going to come back here, and we're going to help small scale growers. And working with our chairman and leaders of Umzimkulu and leaders of Sazela, we were working on a fertilizer scheme, because some of them don't have money to fertilize the cane. So just working on a fertilization scheme to improve their yields. Yeah, well, a lot of challenges were there, from climatic challenges, as Mike had put it. Our crop growth peaks around February, and if you drove here this time last year, you wouldn't see this lush green that you see this year. As Mike perfectly put it, it was dry. We received 25% of our long-term mean rainfall, and we lost that potential growth, and that obviously led to the drop in crop. And as Mark said, our estimate went to from about 2.1 million tons to 1.7, and that represented about a 20% drop in our estimate. So that was a very big challenge for us. And what we've seen, there's been rainfall has been erratic. Dry spells are more severe and longer. Tropical storms are also more severe. And when that happens, it affects the operations of farmers, large-scale farmers and small-scale farmers. They can't get around their operations, they can't do their harvesting operations, they can't extract cane, they can't deliver. And that posed a huge challenge as well. So we had a drop in crop, which obviously affects income severely. We had leading to the mill closing early, and hence a very long off crop. And a long off crop for 6 months, the farmers went without a cane income. And that's a challenge that they need to overcome. Certainly looking forward to correcting our cane supply. This year has been a year of recovery. It's been a good year, and we think we will realize the recovery that we estimate. This year is sort of the foundation, we're laying the foundation for future seasons to come. We'll certainly get a good crop. And we've had some differences. We are two growing regions in the south and in the north, and I'm looking forward to implementing resolutions taken in the past season under our leadership. Our leadership worked really hard to actually bring the two differing growing conditions together under one purpose, and we eventually agreed, set rules in place. As Mark put it, our estimates. This year we're pretty confident in our estimates, and we only yielded that result because of the rules that were set. Some hard battles were had in the meeting rooms, honest debates, and I presume the best ideas stood out. And I'm really looking forward to a season of recovery, really laying the foundation for better seasons to come. And we think we will be in a position, in the next few years of filling our mill, because what we want is, we want to make sure we produce enough cane to fill our mill, but we need a balancing act, because you also don't want to produce or plant up more cane than our mill is capable of crushing. And we don't want our mill area to rely on inward diversions, bringing cane from other milling areas. So we need to farm in a way that suits our milling colleagues as well. So we are working together. Yes, certainly there are expansion plans overseen by the Mill Group Board, because that needs to be monitored. That all needs to happen systematically. A few years ago, before my time here, this area did find itself in a problem where the supply of cane far exceeded the mill's capacity to crush, and we do not want to find ourselves in that position again. So there is current expansion going on, but it is controlled. It has to be monitored. It can't just go on uncontrollably. And as Mike put it, we had a good price. For 2 seasons now, we've had a good price, and when the price is good, instinctively guys want to maximize on that revenue, and we now need to make sure that people don't grow uncontrollably. So I've had interactions and collaborations with other enterprise experts, so guys in avocados, guys in max, guys in timber. There's also guys who've diversified into tea tree. Cash crops have always been part of a thing. So my role and to support the farmers is to understand those enterprises so that I can help them budget. A consolidated budget needs to take cane into consideration, which is my expertise, but then they've got all these other enterprises, and I need to bring together all those expertise to form one program for the guys. So when it comes to small scale growers, diversification poses different challenges by virtue of their size. Because their areas are not so big, diversification is sometimes limited. We do have guys that venture into timber, guys that have ventured into vegetables, which is a big thing, and we encourage them. Poultry farming as well, mainly for subsistence, just domestic consumption, and we help them with all those things. So sometimes there's advertisements for grant funding for other enterprises except sugarcane, and they don't get left behind. We're still economists, agricultural economists, so we are able to assist them raise funding for those projects. There's also community schemes where cooperatives, small scale growers come together and thereby expanding the area under their management and shared resources, and diversification is easier that way. So vegetable farming is a big thing in our area, and poultry farming, yeah.